Neeves Knives, I'm Jared, and today we're going to talk a little bit about EDC knives that are also good for self-defense. And we're also going to get into the subject on self-defense knives and whether or not it's good or practical or anything like that. And then we're going to bring up a bunch of knives and check them out and kind of talk about them. Starting it off, we have the CIVIVI Mid Watch in N690 steel and micarta scales. It comes in a couple different options, but it is made in China, not USA made, but it is very well done. We have a tech lock, great Kydex sheath, N690 steel with amazing cutting geometry. So originally, I do not think this is a good self-defense knife, but I think it's a good EDC knife. Now, I think if you do what I did right here and wrap it with leather and widen up the grip a little bit, it massively improves it. So if you have this knife, or if you like the look of it and are looking for something just like this, wrap the handle. I think you'll have a lot better use with it, even with regular EDC tasks, because the problem with it before was the handle was a little bit too thin and it would move around in your hand, which is not practical, especially for self-defense. You don't need this thing shifting around in your hand, especially if your finger's in the ring. And then when you're cutting with it, you also don't want it shifting, because sometimes you're pushing through thick things and the blade can tend to move around a little bit. This way, now it's so much more secure in the hand. Now, like I said, this one I think is a great option for somebody looking for a readily available, affordable, good quality EDC knife that can also be used as self-defense as long as you wrap the handle. Now, getting into some, whether or not a knife is good for self-defense. So we're going to pull up some knives while we're sitting here talking about it, and we'll pull up a few folders really quick, just a couple little folders. Now, just for a little eye candy while we talk, and then we'll get into the knives. Now, is a knife practical for self-defense? So I would argue yes. And the reason why is I think a lot of people's brains go towards that it can only be a human attacker. Well, I tend to think that most likely the knife, if you're going to use it, you're going to wind up using it in a way that maybe you need to cut something in order to save your or somebody else's life. For an example, a seatbelt wrapped around you while you're rolled over in a car, or somebody else. Maybe you have to cut them loose. Maybe it's a baby or something. You got to cut the seatbelt off of them to get them out of their car seat. Stuff like that. Another one might possibly be the I use this scenario a lot. A dog is attacking your child. It doesn't matter if you have a firearm. You might not want to take that shot in fear of hitting your child. So having a blade on you might be the better option there. Now, there's a lot of other scenarios I can go through, but I think you guys understand what I'm saying, and even like tending to wound care, somebody gets wounded, you might have to cut their clothes off to tend to the wound. There's all different types of reasons. I once got stuck in a tree with a rope wrapped around me, and luckily I had a blade and I was able to cut myself loose. So there's lots of different scenarios. Now, as far as human attacker goes, right, of course, a firearm is the optimal tool. But you might not be able to carry one, or you might go to areas where you can't legally carry it. Or maybe you're like me and are a felon and can't legally carry a good firearm. We can carry black powder, but anyways, the point is that, there's many reasons why you might or might not be able to carry a firearm in public. Now, having a knife is another good option. Of course, pepper spray, things like that are also good options. There's lots of other good options. I don't think it's a one thing fits all. I think it's where you need multi-tools, because most likely the scenario that's going to happen to you, and I can't tell you all the scenarios that's happened to me, crazy things I've seen, crazy things that's happened to me. What I think is that most likely whatever is going to happen to you is going to be so out of this world and so unexpected that it's good for you to have different tools just in case. And I think a knife is a great tool. Now, the functional part of it is that 99.999% of the time you can use your knife as a pocket tool. Cut open things, cut ropes, cut straps, cut plastic, open packages, things like that, or even for work. But if you're going to do that and you want to have it as a self-defense knife, I think it's very, very important for you to make sure you can sharpen your knife or have somebody that can sharpen a knife or have a sharpening device, something to where you can make sure you have a sharp edge, because the worst thing that can happen is you've been using your knife for EDC stuff and then you actually need it for something that could save you or somebody's life. Now, this is the Spyderco Manix 2 XL. I love this knife for self-defense. I think that this is a great EDC, a great work knife, a great all-around knife, one of the best all-around knives you can get, and it's readily available. You can buy it right now. I'll have everything from this video linked down in the description, or at least as much as I can. This is the big version. It does come in a smaller version as well, but it has the ball lock, which the ball lock is a very strong, reliable, durable lock. Now, one thing you're going to have to worry about with folding knives is whether or not the lock is strong enough for self-defense, or, you know, when crap hits the fan. Now, I want to give you guys an example of something that I thought might have been good at one time, but now I realize, at least my version, and this could be a prototype, the company did send it to me. However, I don't think that this is a great option because, and I'm going to show you why, but you can drop it down and turn it into a push dagger, right? Really cool. You can lock it, which is awesome, but that lock only works for this button. So basically, to stop it from doing this. So you can have a regular pocket knife, or you can drop it down and turn it into a push dagger. However, the problem I have with it is this. It will fail. So that's your finger right there. So if I had this in my hand, it would, most likely it wouldn't close because my finger would catch it like that. And it'd catch it. But the problem is this would come back right here and pinch my skin in there. And it hurts bad. I've done it a couple times. So it's not, it doesn't feel good. So will it actually work? It might, but you have the chance that when you strike, something's going to hit it this direction and it's going to close on your hand and then pinch this finger over here. It's probably not going to chop down on your finger because, like I said, this will guard it, but you have the possibility of being pinched, and you do not want to be pinched during a situation like that, especially as bad as this pinch is, because it's bad. So it will tear meat off of your skin. So this is the Emerson A1. Now, this is a liner lock, and most likely, most of the time, I wouldn't advise liner locks for self-defense, but there are exceptions to that. Like this one. This is an Emerson knife, and it's got a very strong lock. They have strong lockup. It has a tiny hint of lock stick, which is going to ensure that it's not going to fail. It's got a titanium liner lock, which is usually is a little bit grippier on the steel, so it's going to be less likely to fail. It's got a robust blade, and it's super grippy in the handle, so even though it doesn't have a finger guard, they do have lots of knives, though, that are specifically for this purpose, but this one in particular is more of a utility knife, work knife, but I think can definitely be used as a self-defense knife because of how grippy this G10 is. It is so grippy that you're not going to slide up the handle. But USA made, again with this one, also USA made. This one's in S30V, this is in 154 CM, but I think these are great options. This one is not readily available though. This one is also not readily available. However, I think that this, if you have a Socom Elite, this is a Microtech Socom Elite, USA made, 204P. This is the Tonto version. It also comes in a clip point version, but this is a great knife, and I think that this is a great representation of a good tactical knife. And now again, this isn't a liner lock, but I think this is an acceptable one. It's nice and thick, it's robust. I have spine whacked the heck out of it. Same thing with the other knives. So I've tested the locks to make sure that they are durable, and I think you should do the same thing if this is something that you're going to want in the time of need where you might need to use it for self-defense. So make sure the lock is good. Make sure the lock is solid. This is great because you can get a lot of distance with it. It's got a glass breaker if you did need to rescue somebody or yourself. Like I said, nice strong lockup, very easy to deploy and get into action, and it's actually relatively thin behind the edge, but it has a thick, robust blade stock. So this can actually pry things and stab into things without the fear of breaking your blade, but it's also slicey. And then this next one, we have more coming up. This is an Emerson Karambit from LIONSTEEL. So this is made in Italy. Magna Cut steel. It's an aluminum handle, and I know a lot of people think, aluminum's weak, but, it's plenty strong for this purpose. But it's an integral, meaning this whole handle is made from one solid billet of aluminum. It does have a steel lock bar insert, and it does have the wave feature. So when you're pulling it out of your pocket, you can let this catch your pants, snap open, and then you can spin it around and catch it in your palm for the reverse grip. Now, just to be honest, I am not well versed in the reverse grip gripping of a knife and using it in any tactical way. So I wouldn't be comfortable using it like that, and I just know that if something happened, I'm going to pull it out and use it the way I am comfortable, which is in this direction. So if I want to use it in this direction, there is a way to do it though. I can pull it out and then flip it around the other way. Sorry, flip it around. I can pull it out and then flip it around so that it lands in my palm. So there is a way to do that the forward way. And now this thing has a lot of distance and it acts like a claw. And I don't think people understand how devastating a blade shape is like this. Now, of course, it's not the best blade shape for EDC, but you totally can use it. You can use it to claw things open packages up. If you did need to break down some cardboard really quick, you could absolutely do it. If you did have to get a hold of a seatbelt or a strap on somebody, you can get right behind it without fear of cutting the person, and you can cut backwards and cut the seatbelt off. It has multiple forms of deployment, including a removable flipper tab. You can take the flipper tab off if you don't want the flipper tab. But like I was saying before, though, I think that people don't realize, or I don't think people realize how devastating a blade shape is like this, because when it catches you, this little front end, the tip, catches and pulls you in like a claw, just like a tiger's claw. So as it goes in, it only claws itself deeper. So as you're cutting, or if you try to go at the distance and grab something, you can actually grab things and pull it in towards you. And I'm not saying like that's practical. I'm just saying when you snag forward, it's going to grab them and it's going to push the blade in deeper, and it's going to kind of pull them into it. So this leaves crazy wound channels if you use it. And if you've ever used a Karambit, especially in my opinion in the forward grip, it's devastating. But like I said, people with trained hands like to use it in a reverse grip. I'm just not one of them. So, but you know, not saying that I don't try to train or anything like that, and I think everybody should. But I like to kind of train a little bit more of what's comfortable and what I think I would actually do in a scenario. Or let me be clear, what I know I would do in a scenario. So let's bring up some other knives. Now, before we go into more fixed blades, this is somewhat of a gravity knife. Now, here is an actual gravity knife by Riet. This is the Riet Exoskeleton. Now, I don't think this is very practical for self-defense. Could you use it? Yes, you could. But it has the chance of the blade getting caught, which I think, you know, it's possible that could happen. It most likely will. So that's the problem I have with it. Now, yes, once it's opened up and you have it locked in, even if you stab it into things, it's not going to open up in your hand. You have to actually release it for it to open up, but that can happen. So I would recommend getting something that locks like this. This is way, way more affordable. This is like $300. This is $65. But it still works basically the same way. The only difference is you push the button and you swing it out and then let go, and then it locks. And this is actually a pretty strong lock. Yesterday I was using this to break down cardboard, and thick cardboard. I was pushing cardboard together. So there were times I was yanking it in and out. It's a lock that's durable and strong, and plenty strong for what you're doing. It's not an actual button lock. It's actually a liner lock that has a plunge that gets pushed behind the tang of the blade. So it doesn't, basically I'm saying it doesn't have a tapering plunge, and that's why I wouldn't recommend most button locks, because of the tapering plunge, because it could fail. This is different. It's a liner lock that goes directly behind the thing and does not have a tapering plunge. So meaning it won't slip out. But like I said, affordable, good steel, nice and thin geometry, nice spear point blade, very ergonomic, works great in a reverse grip, very comfortable, and it's also fast, easy to use. I like this one a lot. Nice tough steel, 14C28M blade steel, and there's lots of different options with that one, by the way. I know some of you are going to ask about side open automatics. This is the Kershaw Launch 15 in Magna Cut steel, aluminum body with micarta inlays. Great knife, very well built. I love the blade geometry, love the blade shape, and I do think that this is a good option for self-defense. It, you know, has a nice strong spring, slaps open really good, nice strong durable lockup. So I think that this is a great option. The problem is, you know, you want to make sure that you can carry an automatic. You know, depending on who you are and where you live, you might or might not be able to carry an automatic. Also, blade length is a huge factor in this. check your laws for blade length, because just because you might be able to carry that type of knife, you might not be able to carry that long of a blade. Also, double edges can be illegal in a lot of places. This is not double edged, by the way. It's only a single edge. And like I said, I do think this is a great option, especially being USA made, relatively affordable for what you're getting. Really quickly, another folding knife that might be a good option for you, because there are so many of them now, are knives with crossbar locks. It's a very strong lock, super strong lock, and it's easy to manipulate. So it's easy to open, close, and get in and out of the pocket, into action, and then also back put away. So that works really good for everyday carry stuff, when you need to open things up, or maybe you're using something with one hand, so then you can use the knife in the other hand, so you don't have to use two hands to open and close the knife. This is the Hogue Deca in Magna Cut with original goat scales. I highly recommend, if you have a Deca, get the original goat scales. It's mandatory in my opinion, unless if you have the G10 option. But if you have the FRN option, definitely get the scales. But like I said, nice strong locking system, USA made, Magna Cut steel, comes in this type of blade shape and a clip point blade. And then this is the KIZER Drop Bear, which I really like as a spear point blade. It's going to be a great EDC knife. It's nice and slicey, and the ergos are very ergonomic. Aluminum handles, works good in the reverse grip or the regular grip. Yeah, just a super solid knife, and is a great EDC knife that could possibly be used as a self-defense knife in a pinch. Not maybe optimal, but it could work. Next, now this one I do like. I like this a lot, and it has the same reason why I, like this type of Karambit would be good, but just a little bit different. One, it's in your palm, you're not going to get it out. There's no way somebody's getting this out of your hand. Two, this thing acts like a tiger's claw. It does devastating damage. I cannot express how much damage this thing actually does when you use it, because the tip, like the Karambit before, it pulls the material into it. So any type of blade that's going to leave a 1-inch deep gaping wound, even if you hit somebody in the arm, it's going to be life-threatening. So it's not like you're getting cat scratches. This thing is going to open up whatever it strikes. So I do think this thing's great. And you can also use it for a punch tool. Now, I don't think that would be as devastating as swiping, but you could do both. And in a self-defense situation, you probably will be. But it is a liner lock, so I do fear it closing. However, I have punched it into things, even hard things, and it has not failed. So I have tested the lock. However, I think the frame lock version, which is readily available, there is some liner lock versions available. I will link them down in the description, but the frame lock version is the one I recommend the most, and I'm even thinking about getting one, because that way you can actually squeeze the lock stronger. But 14C28N, great steel. And yeah, I think, oh yeah, and also you can wave this one open. So kind of like how the Karambit was, how you can wave it open, and then you can get, as long as you don't drop it, you can wave it open and then get it into action. This one's in, I said Magna Cut steel. Now, yes, it's probably soft Magna Cut steel, considering it's from Italy, because Italy, is just known for doing their super steel soft. But I don't think that it's that big of a deal on an application like this. Not that I wouldn't prefer it to be harder. Now, another knife, really quick. We're going to just go through an OTF really quick. This is an OTF by Dagger, and what I like about it is it has two forms of deployment, so you can deploy it in a Karambit way, or grip, or you can do it like a regular, just the way you'd open up any OTF. It's cool, it fires good, it seems reliable, thin blade stock. I love the spear point type of blade with the bayonet style grind, so it's going to be very pokey, very slashy, nice thin geometry. It is a very thin blade stock, almost too thin, and it's got an aluminum body. The blade steel is VG10, yeah, VG10 steel, titanium clip, and it does come within the package a thing where you can take one of these buttons out and replace it with a plate, so you can only deploy it in one direction, and it comes with an extra spring. But what are my thoughts about an OTF? So I think an OTF can be okay, so I don't want to make it seem like they're not. I personally can't carry them, the whole felon thing, as far as carrying them in public. In my state, you have to have an FOID card, a FOID card, which is a gun carrying permit, or a gun license, and then you also have to have a carrying permit to carry it in public, your firearms and things like that. But what do I think for other people? I think it's okay. I think it's good. The problem I think is you're going to run into is this, is that if you needed to deploy it and it hits something, you have to either smack your wrist really hard or you got to yank this. Now you can smack your wrist and lock it in place like I just did. Just whip your wrist and it will lock back in place and now it's ready to go again. But you have to have the room to do that, and it might or might not work. So, those type of scenarios can and will most likely happen, especially because if you're going to use this in a way that it's going to be protecting against another human attacking you or an animal like a dog or something, when it happens, obviously use situational awareness, right? Pay attention to your surrounding areas. I'm always paying attention, especially growing up, in the places and the way I grew up. But a lot of people don't. And I'm telling you, a lot of you don't realize you guys are sitting ducks and you don't even acknowledge it. You don't even realize how much of a threat everybody is around you when you're walking around, not paying attention, looking down at your phone. Like I see people all day, every day, everywhere I go, and all I think about is, man, are they an easy target? So all I'm thinking about, or all I'm trying to say, is that when something happens, it's going to be unexpected, and they'll be on you like flies on crap. It will be so fast that you won't expect it. And it will most likely be, it's like right now, if a German Shepherd just dove on you from behind and you didn't expect it and started tearing into you, right? You're going to be fighting a fight where you're being pulled, dragged, and hit from directions. So I'm just saying that's a likely scenario if something's going to happen when it comes to actual violence. Now, some options I really, really like. So here is one that I really like. Now, this is an N690 Cobalt. I will try to link it down in the description. I'm not sure if I can. It is it has a Kydex sheath with a tech lock that does, I don't think it's a rotating one, but you can spin it and just take out these screws and spin it the direction you want. But it locks on to just about any size belt, which is cool, and you can see how you can turn it. Just like with any other tech lock, it works good. The Kydex sheath works great. And it's compact, and what I like about it is that the handle is small, and you can't get this out of my hand, at least not easily. So because of the handle being so small, there's nothing to grab onto. You can poke, you can slash, you can get down in a reverse grip, gas station knife fighting grip, but you can also use it as a utility blade. You can also use it to break down cardboard or open packages and things like that. So it's a great everyday carry option as well as something that could be utilized in a self-defense situation. Next is TKELL, USA made. I love TKELL knives. He makes these. This is the Night Stalker, but he makes this with or without the ring, so you can choose it. He has a lot of other great options as well. I have another option, which is a double-edged reverse tanto, or a reverse tanto, which would be a double-edged knife. Now, this one's in micarta, and it is a really good blade shape for EDC and self-defense. So one, it's going to be very pokey. You can slash back and forth, but it's also going to be good for utility cuts and actually using it as a regular knife. I would like to get one without the ring. I just feel a little more comfortable without the ring, but the ring is something cool because, you can spin it, you can stop it from being pulled out of your hand. It does have a little pressure point back there. I don't know if that's any good or not. I've never trained those pressure point things on the knives or anything, but maybe you do. But I think this is a great option for a USA made self-defense knife that's built extremely, extremely well. Now, this one is a smaller knife. This is a Mike Emler. It's not USA made, but the designer is actually my friend, Mike Emler. You can go check out his YouTube channel. I put the tech lock on this sheath, but the sheath comes with a chain like a neck knife. So just know it comes like a neck knife. You have to buy this separately if you want to use it. This is one by CIVIVI. Works great. Bob Terzola designed these, and yeah, really good sheath or belt clip for your sheath. Now, the knife itself, fantastic little work knife. Fantastic EDC knife. Is it the best for self-defense? Not really. And only one reason why is because it's a little bit thinner. in the hand. However, I think you could get by with it. I think as long as you're holding it back here, using it like a claw, things like that. Or, if somebody, like I said before, an accident or something, you need to cut a seatbelt off of somebody, it's all great for that stuff. Now, in a combat situation, maybe not as much, but you could definitely use it. So it's definitely something that can be used. But where it will excel is in the 99.999% of things you'll be using the knife for, which is EDC stuff. It will excel in that, and then it can get by in a self-defense situation, but maybe not as optimal. ARPM9 steel. It's a nice powdered steel that is a good stainless, holds a good edge, and it strops back really good. This one is in G10. These are very affordable, like under $50. Next is the Harpoon. Now, they have a 10V version. I will link it down in the description. That's a little bit smaller. This one's in D2 steel. The 10V is a super steel. So this is not a super steel. It's a decent steel. D2 is a good steel, but 10V is like K390, which is like my favorite steel in the world. Speaking of K390, the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. I absolutely love this, and I think that this could be a great option as well, because not only is it a great work knife and EDC knife, but it's fast deployment, easy deployment, one-handed, nice strong lock, good ergos. It's going to be great and pokey, and you can use it for EDC work. I love the PM2 for self-defense, or as a self-defense knife that is 99.99% an EDC knife, which is where it's going to excel. Now, that was K390. This knife comes in 10V, which is basically like K390. So if you want super steel in a knife exactly like this, just a little bit smaller, they do have that. I will link it down in the description. I'm personally probably going to get one because I like it. Now, one thing I really like about this one is the ergos are really good in the hand. This is nice and comfortable. The grip is not hanging out of my hand. If I use it in a reverse grip, this has a nice comfortable area for my thumb to go over. The blade is a beautiful Harpoon style blade shape that's going to be nice and pokey, yet it's going to work good for EDC. This is a great EDC knife, and if you needed to use it in a self-defense knife situation, you can. The one thing is you got to practice with the sheath, because when you take it out of the sheath, if you hold up close to the sheath, you can pull it out and you'll be on the edge. So what you want to do is get your grip back here, from here back, and pull it out. That way you have a good tight grip, and you can always choke up once you get it out. So all you do is practice with it just like you should with any knife. But the reason why I'm saying that is because I have went like this and cut myself. But it works good. You got the leather belt loops that you can strap right on and scout carry it, so you can pull it out from the backside or from your backside or however you want to carry it. Next is, really quick, I know this is a long video, but Dagger Knives has the Parrot, which is a button lock. Now, again, kind of like we were showing earlier with the gravity knife or the CIVIVI ELEMENTUM button lock, it uses a liner, which is really good. Same thing with this. This is not a regular plunge lock. This is a liner lock. So it's a nice, strong locking system. So you have a really strong lock. Now, it also does have a D10, so it is somewhat of a plunge or somewhat more similar to an actual liner lock. The Elementum, just stops right behind the thing. Like it doesn't have a detent, is what I'm trying to say. This actually has a detent, so the blade can be deployed without using the button, but you can also use the button and swing it out. Now, the problem with this is that this isn't practical for EDC. Could you use it? Yeah, you totally could. You could open things up and break things down. It's thick, it's stout, it's pokey, it's very robust. It has a glass breaker on the back, strong locking system, and I think it'd be fine. I think it'd be good. I think it's more of a self-defense knife and less of an EDC knife. However, you can use it for both, but I'll tell you what, you will have some distance with this. It is like 10 inches long, so also be careful where you carry it. Now, let's get to the last one, which is possibly my most favorite little combat self-defense knife that's also good for EDC, and this is the clinch pick. Now, I can't link this exact one, but there's another one I can link that's California legal, that's USA made. This one's not USA made. I will link it down in the description. It's called the California Cobra or something. I think the Cali Cobra, but it's very similar to this. It actually might be even a little bit better. But this one, what it has is, I love this pommel. The grip is perfect in your palm, like it's very tight in your palm, so it's not going to get pulled out. And when you pull it out, it's made to get out of a clinch. So it's made if somebody has you hemmed up, if somebody is pushing against you, if somebody has you trapped in a car, if somebody has you trapped in a corner, if somebody's holding you, grabbing you. This is made to go right in the front of your belt. So it's right where your hands are going to be anyway. So it's going to be very difficult for them to stop you from getting it. That's the one thing. So you can get it out and you can get them off of you. Now, I was originally liking it more in this grip because it's more of a hammer fist, which, I swung tools my whole life. So it's just a natural thing for me. I feel very comfortable like this. However, when I practice with it a little bit, I realize how useful it is in this reverse grip and how effective it is in this reverse grip. Now, the thing is, it's not sharp back here, so you're not going to slash forward. You'd have to slash backwards, but most likely in a clinch, you're going to be clawing this into somebody. So anyways, you could also use it like this just fine. But it also works good as a utility blade, if you need to take it out and open something up. As long as you're not sitting there breaking down cardboard all day and you're just using it to cut straps, ropes, cords, plastic, open things up, this will work great for you. But make sure you sharpen it. 12C27, love that steel. It is a Sandvik steel. The sheath works really good. It's got good retention. It's pretty secure. I'm not a big fan of this loop, but it does work. You can get something better if you want. But I like it how discreet it is, how it's very difficult to stop me from getting it out. And if I needed to use it to rescue somebody, to cut some clothes off of somebody, to tend to a wound, cut a seatbelt, I can absolutely do it in a pinch. But then it also works really good in a clinch. It's not too big, can't stop me from getting it out, and it's pretty effective. Like I was saying before, guys, of course a firearm is the number one choice, but in some cases, all right, let me take that back. In many cases, the firearm is the number one choice. In other cases, it's not. So you want to be prepared and ready with the tools that you have at hand that you're comfortable with using, comfortable with carrying, practice with them, train with them, but at least have tools on you in case if it's a situation where the firearm is not the best option or the pepper spray is not the best option. There's so many different scenarios that can happen. I've personally seen a lot of different scenarios, so I think a blade is a great option. And the best part about it is they are so convenient and so easy or so nice to use for convenience. Right? It sucks when you're trying to open something up and you don't have a blade on you. Me, I never have that problem because I always have a blade on me. So if I ever need to open something up, I got it covered. There you guys go. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Think about subscribing. Hit the like button. Peace.